Hello, everyone. Well, I don't know if you can tell. Jamie thinks I've now got a sexy voice, but I've had a terrible bug or virus or infection over the last 3 weeks, and it's the most weird thing. It kind of goes and then it comes back with a vengeance. And I get to about being 80% well again, and then it hits me and back I go. And this kind of cycle, I lost my voice. So I wouldn't have been able to do this on Wednesday, Jamie, and we're recording on Friday morning. But I'm slowly, if I lose my voice by the end of the podcast, you'll have to take over. So,
Oh,
Jamie,
it's fine.
good. How are you? And welcome everybody to Heads and Dovetails. So I'll say that bit up front. It is me, Jill Harvey Bush, with a slightly different voice, and of course the lovely Jamie Hubbard. First of all, I am going to say, and this is what I'd like to start with, Jamie, is a shout out to you because we've had a bit of a funny situation with my older sister, and Jamie has come to the rescue and has carved the most beautiful little plaque to go onto my sister's patio. And it all came about. My sister's moved into a retirement flat. She has a patio. And before she moved in, and when I say a patio, I mean four little flagstones. She opens the door and that's all she's got. She's got a hedge in front of her, a hedge to the side, and a little space down the side of her kitchen window. And when she was moving in, she kept telling my other sister Helen and I, oh, when I'm going to grow some tomatoes on my patio and I'm going to grow some herbs and I'd love some flowers. And oh, I'm going to get a little bench like her friend in her old flat had. And I think it'd be lovely if we have a little bench there. And I want a coffee table, like a little French, coffee table outside the restaurant. And Helen and I are thinking, uh, how big is this patio? So my Helen said to me, she said, I'd love to be able to find a sign that says Mary Poppins Patio. And we were laughing about it. And then after I finished the phone call, I thought, I know just the man who I can ask to make that. So Jamie, and I will use it as a thumbnail on our little advert, has made us a wonderful little sign saying Mary Poppins Patio. My sister has been in respite care. She wasn't very well, so she's been in a care home for the last 4 weeks. She comes home on Monday, so she will be getting her sign that says Mary Poppins Patio, because that's what we felt like. We thought it's like
Yes.
that moment in Mary Poppins where she opens her bag, her carpet bag, doesn't she? And out comes this, and out comes a lamp, and out comes.
Yeah.
So you used a beautiful and recycled a piece of wood for me. So absolutely in my kind of realm of what I like to do, and has carved it beautifully. Sent it to my middle sister who hadn't seen it, and she opened it and rang me immediately and messaged me as well, saying, This is gorgeous, it's perfect. So, Jamie, I am giving
Thank you.
out a big shout out to you. This, and can I just add, it's not an ad, it's not a gift. I believe, even if it's friends, in paying people for the skill set that they've got. So, a huge thank you from two sisters, which is going to make a third sister laugh, we hope. She'll probably kill us, but it will make her laugh. And anybody, I'm sure, who comes to her enormous patio for a coffee. But I
Oh,
want to
thank
give you a shout out because too often people just think, oh, so and so will do it. It won't take him very long, without realizing the length of time it takes to do
you.
something. It's
It,
like well, I was hand caning a chair. I wanted to practice, and I said to this lady, I'm more than happy. She'd done a thing on Instagram. Lovely lady now, I'm very good friends with Kirsty, and her hand cane chair broke, and it was her grandmother's, and she didn't know how to get it repaired or whether it was worth it or should she take it to the tip. And I just said, look, I'm a beginner, but if you'd like me to have a go, I'd be more than happy to. And I'm just charge the materials. Anyway, she came. She was incredibly happy with it. I wouldn't take any money because it was my practice and I'd offered to do it. I believe by standing by that. But she bought me some lovely Chapel Down wine from Kent. And then she sneakily said, well, not sneakily, she laughed and she said, I found the other chair in the garage. And she said, and I thought, if this one is okay, I'd give you the other one to do, but I'm going to pay you for it because I know how much it costs. So that's it. I want to give a shout out to all the skilled, and we've got a few who listen, skilled people out there. Yes, stuff, costs more money. And it goes back to my lovely book that I'm banging on about, and I'm not getting commission. I think I should, about less and how,
Yeah.
yeah, if we're recycling, even if we're recycling stuff, it still takes time and effort to do that, whether it's clothes or bits of wood but it fits in perfectly with my ethos, Jamie.
Yes.
So thank you very much. That's my
Well,
shout out
thank
to you at
you.
the beginning of the podcast.
Well, thank you. I want to sort of mention this as well. We were just chatting before we start. We always have a little chat before we start. But one of the things, I'm behind with my work this week. I'm seriously behind with my work this week, and one of the reasons I'm behind is because of thought process. It's
Mhm.
because, and this is why your little sign took a little while for me to do. I just hadn't. I Sometimes you've got to put a few things together, and then when you've got a few things together, you can get on with it. And what had happened with that was I was trying to get the right. I was trying with your sign for your sister. I was trying to get the right piece of wood so that
Mm.
it could go outside, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to use um, a mahogany or something like that. And it was just making sure you pick up the right piece. And then I saw the middle section of this of a load of kitchen doors, oak kitchen doors, and I thought, you know what, that'll be fine, and that'll weather down, and it'll look a bit used, but then it's one of those things that let it weather down, go over
Mhm.
it with a stiff brush, give it another coat of oil. It's great again for another few years, and it can keep going like that. But it can keep needing a little bit of attention. I don't think there's anything wrong with that sometimes for things outside, especially wooden things. You know that they're going to need a bit every now and then. Um, but I'm behind this week now because I've got an elephant that's been sitting on my bench, and it's been around since June, July. Um, this elephant's been sitting there because I've been waiting for contact from somebody because
Can
I'm
we
using an.
can we just put this into context? Because somebody's image will be like mine. I just got a really funny image so this is how minds work, of an elephant
Oh, it's not that
sitting
big.
in
It's not that
no,
big.
I had an image of a real life elephant sitting on your bench,
Did
Jamie, in
you?
your office. And
Okay.
that's how brains work, isn't it? So
Okay.
it's
It's
a little wooden elephant, isn't it? A solid.
it's not that little. It's
Well, there you go,
blooming
you see.
heavy. It's about 16 inches tall, 16 inches long. Indian, I think. I think it's
Yeah.
Indian, and it weighs a ton. It's absolutely, and it's got some issues. It was blocked. It was made in blocks.
Does it need to come and speak to me if it's got some issues, Jamie?
If you want to talk to a lump of wood, you carry on. Um,
Well, I do have
it's
Bush in my surname.
well, this thing is falling apart a bit. It's not quite
Yeah.
falling apart,
Okay.
and it needs some TLC. And I should have had an easier week, but I haven't because I've been in my head with this piece so much so that I was going to start it. Where are we? We're Friday morning. I got it on the bench on Tuesday evening, ready for Wednesday. I messed with it Wednesday, and I thought I can't start filming this yet because I don't know where I'm going with it.
Mm,
How am I going to repair this bit? Where am I going to put the and so much thought that we don't put down on our paperwork the thought that
correct.
goes in to doing it. And I'm probably I haven't I'm going to say I haven't touched this elephant yet. I haven't started this elephant yet, but I bet it's had 6 hours, maybe 7, 8 hours at least
Mm,
of how am I going to do this? What's my process to this? Especially contacting the people who manufacture the fillers because their fillers go up to I think it was 75 mil thick without exothermic shrinkage and whatever. And I thought, well, you know what, that'll do. But then last night it all sort of came together. But and this morning has been a bit of a funny morning. I've been trying to clear videos off my phone. I've got too much on my phone. I've tried to do, I've tried to put them on a. I'm showing Jill a box of something here. I've tried to put it on a little gadget that I bought, which is great. This little tiny gadget thing, which is
it's like a
oh,
USB, a little
it's like
old,
a little
half the size of a
tiny
US.
USB
Yeah,
thing.
it's like half the size of the old
Um,
USB sticks.
and it has the little mini USB things. I've got some of
Yeah,
those as well. And the idea was to take these videos off my
yeah.
phone onto a card, forget about it.
Yeah.
No, they won't transfer. So I've now had another change. I'm not going to do the elephant this week. I am actually going to focus on using the video that are on my phone. I'm now going to postpone the elephant for another couple of weeks, and I'm going to clear my phone a bit more of space because I've only got
Yeah.
10 gig of space left. So it's getting tight. So I've got to use it all up and I've got to get rid of it and
But it's funny
do
you say you
things.
spent so much time thinking. I
Yeah.
had a Mum, can you help me moment with Jackson, which actually dovetailed very nicely this week because I was due to go up and see my sister and help her start the transition to come out of respite care back into her flat. And I was doing that on Thursday anyway, and I wasn't relishing having to get up at kind of 5 o'clock, wet, cold, Thursday morning, driving past Stonehenge. Jackson, the son, messaged me and said, Mum, help, would you come and babysit the flat for me? He had arranged, this is a classic, he'd arranged in his 2 weeks holiday back in August, he needs to have a smart meter fitted, they're changing all the meters. And he'd arranged for it to happen in his holiday. And he'd booked the slot, the afternoon slot. He was down here, I think, Saturday till he was going to go back Tuesday, but the only slot he could get was Tuesday afternoon. So he booked it for Tuesday afternoon. He said, Mum, I'll get up early and I'll travel back Tuesday morning to make sure I'm back by 12, although the slot isn't till 1 till 5. They give you a slot these days. Anyway, he got up early, left, and then he rang me about 20 past 9 and said, You're not going to believe this. The engineer has called me to say, Where am I? He's at my flat.
Oh,
And he said, I told him, Well, I'm halfway, I'm up the M5 towards Bristol. And he said, Well, I'm here to do your smart meter and you have to be here. And Jackson said, No, I booked it for this afternoon. No, you haven't, mate. It was an all day job for me. Miscommunication between him booking. So when he was actually with Octopus, and to be fair, their customer service is good. When he got back, he contacted and he said to him, Well, I'm sorry, but I booked this afternoon, so you'll have to come back this afternoon. He said, I can't come back this afternoon. He said, I've got loads of other work to do. You'll have to rebook. So, of course, that then got into Octopus and they said, okay, our fault, you'll be a priority. The priority was this Wednesday just gone. And they gave him a couple of days' notice. He's gone incredibly busy at work. They're doing 20% extra on their hours. They're working at the weekend. So he's like, Mum, I can't take the day off. I just can't. And I said, not a problem. I said, that dovetails nicely. I'll drive up to you and then I'll drive on down to my sister. But again, it's that classic. And the long story of this is I was then chatting to him quite a long time in the evenings, and he's working on a big project. He's been given a massive couple of projects to get done. And he said, it might look like you're saying, he said, it might look that I'm just sitting at my computer doing nothing. He said, but I need a good couple of hours because in my head, he's having to just design this from scratch. So he said, I'm sitting there in my head, a bit like you, plotting it out. If I do this,
yeah.
what will that do? If I do
Yes.
that, before I even
Yes.
start putting it down on a spreadsheet or a design sheet or
Yes.
so, but he said, of course, then other jobs keep coming in and I'm not getting round to it. So he
Yeah.
said, like you, it might be I'm just, sitting here looking, but I'm designing in my head. And I think it applies to so many jobs, Jamie, when we're
Yes.
talking about being creative, right through to Jackson, who's creating and engineering a massive thing. It's really, really important for next year for the car. But
Well,
he's
it's got
doing
to
it.
happen.
It's
That's
got to
it.
happen, but he
Yes.
needs the time and space in his head to be able to
Yes.
think about it. And that even goes back to, I mean, I know Jay Blades is in kind of ooh at the moment, but this was before he became famous. And a chair. I had a chair I wanted recovering. It was my mum's chair. And I said, would he do it? What was the cost? And I sent him photographs and he said, yeah, yeah. So I brought it up to Wolverhampton. And it was quite a while later. And he explained, and I get it when I do it myself. He explained, I like to sit with a piece for quite a while while I ponder on what fabric I'm going to use, how I'm going to
Yeah.
do it, what's the mix. And at first you think, well, just choose a fabric and get on with it. But I've realized the same. When I'm restoring something, I started like my black chairs that I did ages ago, and then I put a little bit of red on the front, and then actually they didn't sell, so I changed it again. But I think it's preparing as well to be flexible when you're doing something, is what I've learned. that as I go along, I go, I think I'm going to do this. Excuse me.
Yes.
I think I'm going to do this, but then I end up doing something else. I'm in the middle of a little table at the moment, so I've got to saw some plywood and try not to make it split for the top. And I'm trying to decide between two colours. You know, do I
Mm.
use the dark blue here and here, or do I do the turquoise here and there? And I'm sitting with it every time I go in the garage. I'm imagining it, and it's been sitting there for ages. So I think
And
that's
this,
important.
yes, it is. It is. It's. I mean, in a past life, in a former life, I was a yacht builder, but also I worked in the development office, the design office, and you've and a lot of people. I sort of I didn't get it years ago when people said, "You, what do you mean you see it?" I said, "Well, you've got
Yeah,
to see it, and then think, right, well, if I do that, then well, that's that going to look like that'll look all right. Okay, so then I can do this." And I think there's like an 20% thing for me. Sometimes I won't start it, and I won't put a percentage on it at the time, but it's just a gut feel that I know where I'm going for the first bit. I know where I'm
mm,
going with this. I'm not going. I know by the. I mean, I suppose one of the biggest ones, biggest headache ones I've done for that would have been the font I did, the church font,
mm,
which was a huge pulpit from a church, and I took off all of the deep carved, the heavily carved, the most ornate pieces, and put it all down from this 8 foot tall, 7 foot wide diameter with a staircase going up. So I took all the best bits off that and put it into a 2 foot
mm.
square, 3.5 foot tall um, font for a church. Taking it from an octagon to a square, there was so much involved in my head
Yeah,
that it sat. It did. It used to sit for weeks because I was just like, right, I'm just gonna get to this point, and then you get this confidence that you know what, I've got so much of this, I know where I'm going,
yeah,
the rest will fall into place.
yeah.
And that's usually what happens. If you get to that 90-95%, you know what you're doing, you'll easily start it because you know that anything that comes up later, it's
That's
not a
right.
major thing. I can sort it out. It's not, that's fine. And sometimes and I don't, I think sometimes we doubt ourselves as well, don't we? Sometimes you look at something and think, I mean, you wouldn't put a percentage on it, but you go, yeah, this is fine. And then you have that doubt. Well, if something does go wrong, it's probably going to be tiny anyhow. I won't worry about it. It'll just fall into place again. But yes, you've got to be at that decent percentage
Yeah,
to be able to say, right, I'm going to start, because if you're not, you can't start. I can't.
exactly. Exactly.
I can't start.
And I think that's the bit that people don't see. I mean, just going back
No.
to where we were laughing about the elephant, I think that's a classic sign of miscommunications and how miscommunication happens. And it's something I use a lot and explain to my clients that you can say one thing, but how
Yeah.
it's received by the other person goes on what their images are in their head. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
example you just said, oh, I've got this elephant sitting on my
Elephant.
bench, you know,
Yeah.
in my head immediately it becomes this full-scale elephant.
Yeah.
And I use the example as to how we miscommunicate and why, as a coach, it's really important for me to double check, like I did with you. But say, oh, what, this big elephant? No, 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 it's a wooden elephant that's about this size. So I'm getting
Yes.
the detail. So as a coach, I see what you're seeing. And as humans, we don't do that a lot. We make an assumption. I use
Mm.
something called the three houses, and or I sorry, not the three houses. I use the house by the water analogy with my clients to explain what I'm talking about. So I'll explain here, in that I will say, "Oh, I want to live in a house by the water." What sort of image, and anybody listening, what image has popped into your head? What sort of house and what sort of water am I by?
Well, okay. So mine would be somewhere like one of the little villages on the south coast, where little fishing village, where the stream comes down and there's houses either side of a little tiny valley,
Yeah.
and there's a little bay at the bottom, and the water, and there's brick lined stream, and there's a bridge, and there's usually a nice restaurant sitting by the bridge, so you can have a restaurant view of the water going down. And that's my sort of house by the
So do you see
water.
how in a second you will have grabbed that image without realizing
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Whereas what I'm talking about is my lovely log cabin, like by a Canadian lake, in a wood, a huge wood, beautiful lake in front of me, the little pier going out to a little boat that I can, not that I can row, I'd probably go around in circles, but that would be my image. Now, the
Yeah.
point to this is somebody else listening will go, "What are you talking about? My image is a big
Yeah.
glass house in, I don't know, Santa Monica overlooking a big sandy beach." And somebody else, and I've done this in a group, somebody's, "No, no, no, mine's on a canal. Mine's a little cottage by the canal." Um, and that's how we get miscommunication because I will then be talking to you as if my house is a log cabin by the water. You're trying to interpret that to how does this fit with a little cottage, by a stream down on the south coast, overlooking the sea. And that's how we miscommunicate because we actually don't drill in to the
Mm,
detail to know exactly what somebody is talking
mm,
about. And it happens every day with everybody, I would say. I've got
mm.
much better to clarifying, like I just did with you then by making a joke about it.
Yes. Yes.
But
And,
otherwise,
and
we
and
make an assumption in our own head based on our own values, our own experiences, our own beliefs, our own wants, and then we try and
yes.
communicate without
Uh,
realizing we're not
it
communicating
is.
about the same thing.
I get it. It is one of the ones that one of the one, not an analogy, but what I use when I'm explaining to people what I want to do to say something I'm restoring for them is I will say to them, because you can say sympathetic restoration, and people just like, oh, I've heard that before. That sounds all right.
But they don't know
um,
what it is.
no, but if I say to them, look, if I can just make it look like it never got into this state and it was always cared for, then it would have a bit of patina, but it wouldn't look as dirty as it is now. So it would be cleaner and it would look a bit more loved and it would be a bit more shiny, but it would just look like it's been well cared for and nobody let it get this far.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay. Oh, okay. And because you've sort of told them a story as well,
Hmm.
and you're telling them that they're doing the right thing, really, which is it will be restored back to a point where somebody cared for it because they care for it already because they want it done
Yes.
and then I can almost I can't say get away with whatever I want to do, but it means that then I can do that, and
Yeah.
that's my brief.
Yeah. But
That's everything in one thing for a piece of furniture,
but
and
it,
that
it
can cover
is
all sorts of things.
but this is where the miscommunications happens, even down to things like, "Oh, well, let's go out for dinner. It won't be an expensive place, but what's expensive to them might not be expensive to me, or vice versa. Oh, it won't be an expensive place. To them, 50 quid on a dinner in London or a lunch in London isn't expensive. To me, that's like, that's quite a lot of money, actually."
Yeah.
But we don't clarify. And that's how we end up in so many pickles
Mm.
because of the miscommunication, because we base it on our own experiences. You and I have talked about it with regards to how much do I charge somebody? Stop
Mm.
thinking about it as if it's you personally paying for it and
Oh,
your
Gill.
own system. You've got to go with this is my value, this is my worth. And there are people, for them, spending 5,000 on a meal is nothing, with the champagne and the
Yeah.
good wine, and that's nothing. And then we're
Yeah.
worrying about charging them an extra £50, which is really, that's still not what it should
I
be.
do. I do beat myself up. I do. I'm
Yep.
guilty of beating myself up. And I think what happens as you get older, and I don't think you get, ow, my arm just twinged, sorry. I don't think you get this when you're younger, that you will go through a period because because the standard of, not standard of living, the cost of living and wages are going up. We sort of get stuck sort of in this
Hmm.
window because that's our lifestyle.
Yep.
Whereas everybody else 15, 20 years younger is earning more money doing almost lesser jobs, I would say, in some
Yep.
respects, because but they're earning more money because they're in the current system. I'm away from
Correct.
this system. I I I said to somebody the other week, a couple of weeks ago, about this, and he said to me, he says, that's really all right. And I was just like, are you sure? And he said, yeah, yeah, that's fine. He said, I'm surprised it's that cheap. And I was just
There you
like,
go.
you're joking. I said, I feel bad because I think that's crazy. But I think I said it on one of my videos recently. I have to save, pay the same bills that you do.
Absolutely.
And I think we've got
Absolutely.
used to, I think what's happened is as you get older, for in my case, because I've been earning less, sort of 90% of my money income has been going on bills.
Yeah.
95%, 100%. I don't mind saying that the income comes in 1 month and then it sort of sits there ready to pay the next month's bills. And then
Hmm.
when those next month's bills come out and then more money goes back in, it just sort of sits on this sort of same wavelength. No major going ups and downs because I don't earn enough for it to go up and I don't spend enough for it to go down. It just wobbles along like a
Because
little
you've
like a
it's
little.
Jamie, it's called you've learnt how to live within your means.
Oh, Jill, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Oh,
That's
don't
you've
have many
learned.
people say that.
Well,
Yeah,
it's true.
that's
You've,
it. That's it.
a lot of
And
people don't, and I think you've got to be
no,
careful there. You've learnt to live within your means. So that means
and you
it
know something.
doesn't go up,
I've
it
got to
doesn't go down.
I've got to say, and this is the thing for me, cutting up the credit card, I don't know how many years ago, I cut the credit card up. 7 years ago, it helped me out. It's helped me out cutting the credit card up and it's got tighter. What does hurt a bit is when you think, oh, I had a bank overdraft. I don't mind saying it. I had a bank overdraft of what was it? 7,000, I think. Allowance, 7,000. They'll only allow me now 300 quid overdraft. They keep reducing because I don't use it. They drop it. But you know something? It's beautiful not going into the overdraft at all. And it's beautiful not worrying about money coming in because I don't spend the money to go out. And I love it. It's a beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful
that's how
way to
I've
live.
lived my whole life of
Oh, well done, you.
never living in debt.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
and like you, my bank, which is Barclays, have written to me and it had been reduced, reduced, reduced. And they just said,
Yeah,
actually, we're removing your overdraft because I've been with them forever, in 50 odd years, you've never used it. And I
there
just
you go.
think it's amazing how people can live to a 5,000 overdraft or a 10,000 overdraft. They don't go over that. And I always used to use the argument with a friend, but if you can live to your overdraft, which in those
You
days
can,
for him was
yes,
£1,000, why
yes.
can't you live to zero?
Bec-
So you don't go over
I,
the minus 1,000, you
yes.
never overspend that. So if you were at zero, why don't you use that as that's my overdraft?
So I get that. That's like it's just like shifting the datum down, isn't it? So
Yes,
why can't you shift it back up to zero? Why can't you?
yes. And
Well,
then live it.
if the income was suddenly gave them more money, they could do that. But if they're doing what I'm doing, which is to live into the means, it's almost like they can't. They can't.
Ah,
It's
well, a
harder
lot of
to
them
find.
don't. They still buy their coffees, their cakes, their this, their that, their beers, they're going out because they know they can go to that 1,000. And then I think what it is, Jamie, is I am so tight and mean. I
Right
am
on.
not, I am not having anybody else have my money and interest. So my Bartley card,
Sounds
I
like me.
do have a credit card, but I pay it off at the end of every month. Even to the
Yeah.
point I know when my bill is made up, which is around the sort of 6th, 7th, 8th of the month. So if I want to buy something expensive, I don't go and buy it on the 4th. I buy it on the 10th because then the credit card's made up and I then get billed at the end of that month. So it then goes into the next month. So I use it rather than it using me. um,
That's the way to do it.
Absolutely. And on that one, we're nearly done, Jamie.
I think we are.
We're just about done. So,
Sorry
as I
about
say,
that.
excuse me, my voice is now going, so I've just about hung on to it. Talking too much. So, would you like to do the ending bit, Jamie? I land it on you.
Blimey. Oh, yes. Okay. So, oh, blimey, I don't do this. So Jill has a number of podcasts. She's got two, one with me and Jill HB and Friends, which you can get on all the platforms like Spotify and whatever. Jill's got a YouTube channel where there's not many people listening to her blooming videos. Because I was on there listening to a podcast. I was on there the other day, and I was just like, Gill, look at all these with no views. What is wrong with people? So you need to go over to Gill HB, and I'm sure she's got
I think
a
it's
link.
GillHB-Life, and you gave me that name.
There you go. And
And to be fair, I haven't done a lot with YouTube, so
you
I haven't
haven't,
done the
no,
thumbnails or.
but but go over there if you want to comment. Go over onto the YouTube. It's a good place because if you comment on the YouTube, you can see other people's comments, and it can build up a bit of a story underneath our podcast. So go over there and do that. I've got Jill's. You need to follow Gill if you're not already. On Instagram, her Instagram's great. She's a little bit mad with things, but that's fine.
So is this an
Without all the
appreciation, me
hassle.
with you at the beginning and you with me at the end? And we should be just sort of saying thank you to our listeners, basically.
Yes. And I've got a YouTube channel and stuff and whatever. But that's
Yes.
great. But so yeah. Well, thank you for listening. I don't know what else. I don't know how to do this, Gill. I'm not used to doing it. See you next time.
Yes, we'll speak to you next time. You have a good couple of weeks, Jamie, and hopefully I'll get my voice back.
Yes. Have a good couple of
You
weeks.
take
Bye,
care.
people.
Bye.
Bye.